looking to have fun with it. Two dudes talking about whatever.
Unlocking the secrets of the universe and also making shit jokes.
Whoa!
I burnt my tongue a little bit.
Chance burnt his tongue.
Yeah,
That's been our episode. Thank you for being here, guys. That was Animal Secrets, Burnt Tongue Edition. What's up? We're back, and it's a nice day out.
It's a beautiful day for vengeance.
We're still doing vengeance. Yeah. We are. We're still talking about vengeance. We're still talking about movies we saw. What did we see? We who share one body. The Freeman or whatever the fuck we are.
We move as one across the desert.
This is a podcast about desert power.
The desert of the mind.
Not my mind. My mind's a beautiful garden. We did some comedy last night, and then we watched Macbeth's Tragedy of Macbeth, A24.
Yeah, we watched the Coen Brothers' Tragedy of Macbeth, and we also watched Throne of Blood.
Yeah,
by Akira Kurosawa, which is a different Macbeth adaptation.
They're both Macbeth. I keep saying Hamlet. Macbeth adaptations, and I didn't realize this till I read about it. It's not the Coen Brothers. It's just Joel.
Oh, it's just him.
And I mean, I don't know the difference between the two. I'm not saying it like just Joel, but yeah, I guess he was like, this is the first movie he's done without his brother.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's about time. Cut the cord, man.
Seriously, grow up.
Jesus.
What are you guys, incredible artists?
What are you guys gonna kiss?
I mean,
I wouldn't hate if you
that.
kissed.
I'd see that movie. Yeah, we watched it, and it was it's awesome. It's pretty good. We haven't talked about it yet because we watched it separately.
Yeah.
I liked it. Did you like it?
I loved it.
Are we ever gonna do a movie? If we hate it, will we still do a movie one day? Or
if we hate a movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I feel like we'd have to. Maybe we should do one where we just watch like a bunch of Marvel Universe.
We should watch that movie Dog coming out with Channing Tatum and a dog in it.
What's it about?
I saw a preview for it in the movies. Dude, it looked like a parody of a stupid movie. Like, it looked like what they were like, in the future, society will be so dumb.
Yeah.
Those will be, and it was like a Marine who's got some issues, but is still hot.
It's the normie answer to Nicolas Cage's Pig. Did you see that movie?
No, but it probably is exactly that.
Yeah, it's like some dumb art movie came out about Nicolas Cage is looking for his pig. He's like, I lost my pig. It apparently was really good.
They're remaking that with drunk Nicolas Cage. He's in a strip club, and he's like, "Where's my pig?" And they're like, "Sir, we've asked you to leave. You're getting violent and handsy." He's like, "Where's my pig?"
And there's a woman screaming in the back, and she's got like a shower curtain over her. She's like, "Get him out of here!
Get him out!" It's a way darker adaptation, but I'm gonna see it.
I don't care that you were in Con Air.
I don't even. That'd be so funny. He's like, Con Air.
I haven't even seen that movie. I'm 19.
I was in The Wicker Man. God damn it. Yeah, no, it was.
Come here and give the Wicker Man a kiss, baby.
Give the Wicker Man a kiss.
Oh, Nicolas Cage at a strip club.
That's a sketch you can expect from us soon.
Yeah, but gone in 60 seconds. But enough about my love life.
Wicker Man, but enough about my love life. Yeah, we watched it. It was sweet. It's like real weird. It's like a. The way they film it, you can definitely tell they're like acknowledging it's a play more than the Blood Throne one we saw.
Yeah, well, I feel like Blood Throne is more of a true adaptation, honestly.
Yeah, although I didn't realize this either till like I was like doing some research. That's not the plot of Macbeth nearly as much as A24 sticks to the plot a lot more.
It's very That's why I feel like Throne of Blood is more of an adaptation, because it's like, let me take this story and set it in the Kurosawa like universe. I don't know if you say that, but
island.
Yeah. So Throne of Blood, Akira Kurosawa's Macbeth, and then Joel Cohen's Macbeth. The Akira Kurosawa one it's much older. I forgot the year it was made.
It's like 59 or
59.
something.
So it's a black and white movie. They're both black and white films, but this one is it's set in feudal Japan.
Yeah.
And there is a warlord who is going to try and dethrone whatever. It's the Macbeth story. There's Macbeth, who is trying to overthrow the king because his
he gets the prophecy.
He gets the prophecy from the witch.
You're going to be king, and then your buddy, he's going to have some kids who are kings, which is like just, dude, it's so funny in like all the cool tragedies where they'll give you a prophecy that just fucks everybody up.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, you guys are going to get married, but you guys are gonna fuck, and then all three of them have to be like, wait, what? Hold on, who?
I wish somebody when I was in high school, we had happened upon like an
prophecy like
oracle.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like an oracle comes to you when you're in high school.
Oh, I would have been
And they're
dark.
like, 3 of you will die in a car crash.
Yeah, and then you guys would never ride together until one day. You're like, we got to get to the airport. You're like, oh shit, this is us. And then here's the thing,
It's kind of just Final Destination. Is
Yeah.
kind of the movie we're pitching.
oh yeah, except way cooler because it would be like, no, there's too much sex in Final Destination for me. Sexual tension, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't.
How
I
about
can't
Final
focus.
Destination and it's about you kicking a woman out of the apartment after you've had sex? It ain't here, and then the movie ends and then it rolls credits.
I have a thing with sleeping where you can't be here. That's my.
How's your sleep been before we jump in?
I'm so disappointed. I stopped taking Advil PM, which was my last like little badass drug thing, and now I'm taking melatonin.
Yeah.
And it's working all right, but I'm up at like 6.
I feel like we should do like a little brief little like NPR overview before like of where we're at before we jump into the
We
the
found a
meat of
man
it.
in Peru who plays a flute made of crab shells. Listen while it absolutely fucking sucks. NPR.
Later, Aziz Ansari will be apologizing for sticking his fingers down a woman's throat.
He didn't mean to do it, but listen to this stupid crab flute.
I'm Terry Gross, and so is my pussy.
Dude, I was talking about... I was thinking there should be an app for NPR. Because, like, all right, sometimes they have information. That's okay, right? That's good. But I cannot listen to the fucking voices. So that you get an app, and it's Hulk Hogan reads NPR.
Okay.
So
Go
he's
ahead.
like,
Run it.
in Darfur, brothers, there are warring factions. Like, just again, then you get the news.
Yeah.
But you don't got to get all this, like, and then, you know, when you're gazing upon a star. Like, I just can't listen to that shit for more than 8 minutes.
Or what about like Joey Diaz on there, huh?
Joey Diaz would be great. I
Hey,
think.
cocksuckers. What's going on in Lebanon?
Hey, cocksuckers. Cocksuckers in Lebanon are being persecuted. Like, you'd still get the news.
What is going on in Lebanon? What's going on in Lebanon?
I don't know. If we have any Lebanese
Lebanese?
listeners, let us know.
What's the story over there, huh?
Yeah, let us know what you're up to. I think they're just being like, how did we get here? You know,
We'll hop 'em.
I think a lot of
They're
them.
like, we'll hop 'em.
Well,
It's like Kindergarten Cop. Anyway, so we
What
watched.
happened?
So Kurosawa's is basically it's a Kurosawa movie. It's Macbeth adapted to feudal Japan.
Yeah.
So all the like instead of like the Scottish castle, it's like a dojo or
do
whatever.
we,
Yeah,
do
it's
we
like,
have enough faith that we should just run through the plot of Macbeth real quick because most people know it, and then we can talk about like the themes and stuff that's interesting in it, or do you want to go through the plot and like map it out?
let's run through the plot real quick.
Okay, yeah, because I feel like so Macbeth, there's a king, there's 2 generals, Macbeth's one of them, and they meet this. There's always a weird person they meet, some type of weird person.
They meet in like an oracle.
Yeah, or a Japanese busker, and they'll tell him a prophecy, and then it sets this chain of events in order where like Macbeth kills the king, and then Macbeth is sort of haunted by it, and eventually, like through the prophecy, through stuff that you will hear in the prophecy, he's like deposed and killed and dishonored, and
Right.
His wife is like a big
And once he becomes king, he is like
big meanie. I'll say. I don't even
he
care about
starts
saying
exacting his vengeance on everybody that he thinks could be the next in line.
that. Yeah.
So it's a movie about like vengeance, power, control, whatever.
I was thinking about this where like we watched
Destiny.
We watched Ikaru, and we talked about that, and it's like same thing with Blood Throne, and kind of with the A24 one, even though it's a modern one. It's like when it's so stripped down, like you're not doing anything with like setting or like set really. It's just like the themes are so simple. Like this one's basically just ambition and then how it backfires and fucks you, which is like it's so funny that that's a theme that will be relevant in every like hero's journey for the rest of time.
Right.
That's like every single story. So that this whole play is
It
like
does
so,
have like it does have the thing when you're watching it, like kind of like when you read the Odyssey, where you're like, oh yes, this is every story.
yeah.
We're just rehashed throughout time, right?
Yeah, Odysseus is Stanley Yelnats.
He's basically digging up them holes.
Yeah, it's really like when you watch it, it's also funny like some of the themes are like things that Shakespeare clearly thought were true. That now, if you say them, people are like, I don't know about.
He's got a lot of that going on.
Yeah, which I love that. Just being him being like, everybody knows that, right? And you're like, dude, we're gonna read this in like 500 years. All right.
Yeah.
Give us just chill out.
Yeah.
But
and some of the things like still ring true.
100%.
Where he's like, they control the media, and you're like, well, they do control.
I mean, well, dude. Also, like with the like the king, it's like the whole.
Kidding.
I read this book on Stalin recently, and it's like if you
Joseph Stalin.
Joseph.
Oh, okay.
JS. I call him So. That's his nickname. And then
These bitches love so.
This is Stalin rapping it. It's like if you violently rise to power, a byproduct of that is you spend the rest of your time like hyper aware that someone else could violently rise to power.
Yeah.
And then you have like brutal repression, which is why these like coups always kind of come in like these cycles where it's like, yeah, you killed everybody in order to make a new government, and now you're a government full of people who have killed people that you're trying to govern. Like, it's just this crazy cycle.
Like what is required to maintain power like makes you not even be able to enjoy the power.
Oh yeah,
it's such a almost cliche, but then you're like, oh, it's cliche because Shakespeare wrote it.
Yeah, because he's a foundational text of
yeah.
like Western world. Like, it's so funny when you're like, that's such an obvious idea. You're like, no, he started that. Like, that's the first.
It wasn't when he
had the first idea.
He's the first guy.
Yeah, and I like the.
But it's still so.
It's awesome.
So good if you can watch it through the lens of that, keeping that in mind.
Yeah.
Of like, oh my god, like this is the fundamental human.
Also, dude, I was thinking about this. The
whatever.
Lines, because it's Macbeth. It's like, you know, some of these, dude. Some of those lines, if they were like in a new Drake song. Like there's daggers and men's smiles, like that. I mean, that.
It basically is, yeah.
That would be like a hit song.
Drake is basically Macbeth.
People would be like,
Kanye is Macbeth. Who is Drake?
Who's Drake?
Drake is the guy.
Macduff.
Yeah, Drake is Macduff.
He kills Kanye. Is Drake gonna kill Kanye?
Eventually, yeah.
Really?
In terms of like career, I think, yeah.
I'm not. I meant in terms of like a sword.
Yeah, you think of like literally behead, like Drake beheading Kanye.
I would watch it.
Did you read Macbeth?
I did read Macbeth in college, and then you went to McKay's and got a book, and I was rereading some of the like the more famous scenes that correspond. It's so funny how many things like are just so famous. You're like, oh, I forgot that was in here.
Yeah, I went and reread some of the like dialogue that I really love. Like I love the Witches 3.
Yeah, the Weird Sisters.
The Weird Sisters.
It's so funny that all of a sudden there's this one part where it sounds like my stupid cousin is describing it.
Yeah,
he's like, those Weird Sisters.
I actually read this little tidbit that's gonna like ruin the riff or whatever, but it's like
kill the riff.
It's comes from It's like in the original text it's like Wayward Sisters.
Yeah,
like it means like wayward. It's like an old English thing. Like they're
bad girls.
They're like projecting like the trajectory of things.
They're bad girls.
They're bad little sluts.
Like they're on a bad path, and somebody.
They're bad, and they need to be punished.
Yeah, somebody needs to step in.
Yeah.
So like a 29-year-old man.
But yeah,
or something.
I read some of it, and yeah, the Tragedy of Macbeth, Joel Cohen's version is definitely more true to the text.
Yeah, and
because that was the point. They were like, we're gonna take Joel Cohen's movie is like, we're gonna take this play, and then we're gonna filter it through like the Ingmar Bergman lens.
Yeah,
and then I really enjoy.
Well, we should say it's shot in black and white. Yeah, and it's like this bizarre thing the whole time where they're like. They don't really seem to give a shit about establishing like a world. You know what I mean? It's like these shots are all like perfect for what they are. Like there's a lot of like really vertical, like they're looking way up at a guy in a window.
Oh, I love the vertical scenes, awesome. Like the MC Escher painting shit.
Yeah. Dude, I almost said it was like an MC Escher staircase scene, and then like there's a lot of like long ass hallways. It's like very dramatic and like clearly intentional, but it's like a play where they're not worried about
their sets. You're like on set. It feels like I love a movie where it's like it's mature in that it's like you don't have to believe that we're actually in the Marvel universe. Yeah. We're this is a play, and these are the players, and these are the scenes, and the landscapes and the places where they're performing start to feel more like I don't know how to describe, like places in your mind. Yeah. More more like subconscious things more
Well,
than like
everything's-
actual places. You know what I mean? Does
Yeah.
that make any sense?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
Almost
It's-
like a Jungian manifestation of ideas and thoughts and.
Well, it's like every scene's kind of like compartmentalized, where it'll be like it's a road with trees on both sides, and the camera stays super tight, so you can't see to the left or the right. Like they're like we're on the road between the trees.
Yes.
Like they just keep it so you're not. Or there'll be like a scene on the beach, and it'll be so foggy that you can just see like the character in the middle of it, and then you can't really see behind him.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're just keeping you right. All you need to do is listen to this guy's essentially monologue.
Right.
So we're not going to be like, and look at the tree in the back. Like none of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was awesome, I thought. And then, yeah, dude, I really liked. That's what I liked about. It's just about like 2 or 3 themes. There's
Yes.
not a lot going on, but the
And
themes
there's
are
not a lot
universal.
and there's like a limited number of characters.
Yeah.
You're not like being introduced to like, it's not like Star Wars where you're introduced to like
No.
50 like, well, we got to expand the universe, so you
This
need
is-
to know who Greedo's cousin
Uh-oh,
is.
Boba Fett maid's here, you know? She cleans his armor. You're like, this show sucks. I don't want to hear about Boba Fett's accountant. Turn this off. Sorry, I yelled at somebody about Boba Fett like a day
I
ago.
love that you also didn't put the Caucasian possessive form of it. You said Boba Fett maid.
Boba Fett maid.
That Boba Fett maid.
Is that Boba Fett maid? I'm not going to lie. That was not intentional. That was me
Did
just
is
having a
that
stroke.
is that correct? The Caucasian possessive form.
Probably.
Yeah, yeah.
There's definitely...
I'm gonna teach a course called Real English.
REEL. It's about movie dialogue.
Yeah.
So we're safe.
No, it's about fishing terminology.
Yeah. We don't want people calling it a lure, you dummies. It's called fish gut.
So, dude, I loved it because I'm like
Yeah.
an Ingmar Bergman freak.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. You said you were like, oh, this Tragedy of Macbeth, the Joel Cohen one. You're like, this is like an A24 movie.
100. Dude,
Yeah.
okay. So I was excited to talk about this part. It's an awesome movie. There's all these things. But the A24 thing that I noticed is occasionally they'll have a guy, because a lot of it's, it's based on the place that they're just doing long monologues. And there will be a guy, and he'll be like, the whole scene is him doing a Macbeth monologue while also being in like a Billie Eilish music video. You know what I mean? Like he's like standing and his knees above his head, and he's like looking out at it. Or it looks like a Marilyn Manson kind of music video. The creepy guy.
Are you talking about the Weird Sisters?
No, with them, and also just like they'll cut to that like weird blonde kid,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and the whole frame just looks like, dude, if I didn't know what this was, I'd be like, this is a My Chemical Romance video or some like A24 thing where it's like a very modern part of it.
Well,
There's none of that in Kurosawa.
No.
There's none of this like weird slinky androgynous character.
I like
shit.
the slinky androgynous shit.
I liked it too, but it's definitely
that's
like a hallmark.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal, man. It's like A24 is kind of retconned to that shit, but that's like those like that and the what's the lighthouse?
Yeah.
The lighthouse. That's what immediately struck me. It was like, oh, this is a lot like the lighthouse in terms of like themes and tone, and like it's even monochrome like the lighthouse. But those movies are they're jacking that from Ingmar Bergman. If you go back and look at his movies, it's all that like like the sets and like black and white, and like even the Weird Sisters, when she's standing there in her cloak, it looks like this scene from The Seventh Seal, which is this movie about like death and the apocalypse, and like a
seal trying to find his family. It's
a
like
seal
Finding
for-
Nemo.
yeah, it's
Finding
like March
Nemo
of the
ripped it off.
Penguins.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
It's
March
just-
of the Penguins, but the Knight of the Templar.
Seventh Seal.
Yeah.
Seal trying to get home.
Yeah, March of the Templars.
But
It's like if March of the Penguins, but they commit a genocide in a Middle Eastern nation.
Which actually, I heard that there's rumors that is what happens, and like
That's in there, yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's
on
the subtext.
on the cutting
Talk
room
about
floor.
an inconvenient truth. You know what I mean?
Those penguins killed everybody.
But yeah, no, I do get like you watch it and it's weird to you're like, oh yeah, they're doing some A24 shit.
There's
but it's
definitely-
like A24 is just ripping off whoever came before
Yeah.
that. You know?
Also, I think if you told me like you can pick one, I don't know, whatever, like studio or conglomerate and see their movies, A24 is really good.
Yeah.
They're up there. I'm not knocking,
Yeah.
but it's such a fun like. I like that. That's a thing where you're like, oh yeah, this would be in a modern movie. There's gonna
Yeah.
be someone who's standing in an impossible like yoga pose, being like, "It's coming," and you're like,
Yeah.
"All right."
yeah. I like that stuff though. I don't like so I feel like even within the A24 stuff, there's like that. There's like the monochrome black and white, The Witch, and Ingmar Bergman, and then the or not Ingmar, but the lighthouse and the what's the one, Hereditary. Like
I didn't see that one.
I like those guys.
Yeah.
And then I like what do you call it? First Reformed.
First Reformed rules.
Like there are these like very stern, mature male movies that are like, you know, that have some art elements in them and are kind of like odes to these other old like art directors. The stuff in A24 I don't like is like the Zola Project, you know what I mean? Like the
I'm not even gonna lie,
girl boss, like glitter, lens flare, sunburst, like that shit.
I haven't seen any of those, which is probably why I'm not even.
It's a mom in a hotel.
Yeah.
And with her,
how's she gonna make it?
Yeah, that shit. I hate that shit. Yeah.
I always think about that where it's like, okay, with
room, and we never, and it's about a woman in a room. Like I don't like that shit.
No, that's I was thinking about that exact thing where it's like in an old movie like that, like a movie set in the old times. Yeah. He's like, dude, I fucking killed this guy, and now they're gonna kill me. Like those are the stakes.
Right.
In modern movies set in modern times, the stakes are like, but who am I? And you're like, who gives a shit? I don't know. Is anyone going to kill you with a sword? Yeah. You're fine. Shut up. Yeah. Like, that's what's so funny about
Macbeth.
Yeah, like, Macbeth's got real problems.
Yeah.
And then the people in, like, I don't even, half the movies I haven't even seen.
And he speaks real English.
Yeah. Dude, like, I watched a movie like Peanut Butter Falcon, and he'd, like, smuggle, like, a kid with, like, Down syndrome. Like, that was the movie. Yeah. And I was like, these are kind of real stakes, but it's also kind of like, you could just bring him back. You know what I mean? Like, this is Macbeth. There's like real stakes. He's not. He can't be like, I did kill everybody.
It starts out and they're like, we're at war with Denmark.
Yeah. And they execute the guy who like had his position before him.
Yeah,
like, we just killed former you. It's like, Jesus.
He was a traitor to Denmark. And then they kill him, and I love in the scene where they like offer Macbeth the sword to cut his head off, and he denies it.
Yeah, he's like, guys, I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah, and he's also like, ugh, that's a little creepy. But by the end of it, he's such a different guy. Like, oh, we haven't mentioned it's Denzel Washington. Yeah, he's so good,
and
he crushes it, dude.
Yeah,
well, he crushes.
He crushes it, but he's one of those actors where he's so famous that at certain points, like, I'll be like, this dude. This who's talking to him is an old.
This man's on fire.
I'll be like, he's going to Pelican Bay. No, I'll be like, this is an old Scottish lord. And then Denzel will say something. I'll just be like, that's just Denzel Washington being badass. Like, you know what I mean?
I kind of like that, though.
I love it, dude.
Yeah,
it's a great part.
Cool,
but he cannot, like, he's too famous and also too black for me not to be like, hey, that's not Macbeth. Like, I loved it.
I can't stop thinking about Daherm meeting Macbeth and be like, ooh, MacBREATH. Snake needs a Listerine, something.
Dude,
a bread mint, icebreaker. Tic Tac.
I loved, like, here's my, like, you know, you kind of filter the world to fit a narrative you believe already. When I watched it, I was like, I liked that. To me, the message, especially like when, you know, the famous speech is like, life is nothing. It's just like you go on stage. Sound and fury signifying nothing, a story told by an idiot. Like being like, life is pointless.
Right. And I think that's why Kurosawa really zeroed in on Macbeth, because that's a big theme in his movies.
Yeah. Although Ikaru, like, you could argue, that's making the same point and the opposite point. Whatever.
Correct.
You know, but
it's like the positive nihilism thing where it's like, nothing matters, therefore everything matters.
100%.
Like, whatever. Yeah.
But I liked it because it's like, and then, you know, the whole idea of like, the thing that fucks this guy is he's just this like gross ambition where it's like, why did you kill the king? Like, why did you do all this? This wasn't, you were like striving for what, man? Like, so
and the answer is because his wife suggested it.
Kinda. Although I was, okay, to be fair, I mean, there's definitely the funniest road of just like, God, you meddling lady. But to be fair, it's like,
that's an oversimplification of.
But it's not. There is definitely so many things that dudes do that either a woman directly manipulated them. Like, you need to make more money, or they were just like, I want to be more in her eye, or I want to impress women, like some idea in their own head.
It's like the Chris Rock bit. He's like, if a man could fuck a woman in a cardboard box, he would.
Yeah.
But you can't do that, so you buy pillows and comfy things. And
you got to live up to, even if it's just like what
a bed frame or whatever.
Dude, the bed frame fucking. I thought I had a bed, and then this girl's like, that's not a bed frame. It's just like a bed you built that doesn't have a headboard, and you're like, is that not a fucking bed frame?
Yeah.
Is that not?
I love whenever like liberal girls are like, you need to buy a bed frame from Amazon.
Yeah. Like, you need to make a slave build a bed for you. And then get it shipped here by a different slave. Because I'm a lady. You're like, get the fuck. No. Get out of here. That's our Amazon.
She's
take.
like, but I believe in socialism. You're like, what?
Yeah,
What?
I Amazoned Shake will wear a fucking hat because I'm an idiot who doesn't understand how that works. I fucking lost the train. No, it's like
Sorry.
The
I lost
woman.
the train to misogynism. Sorry.
I think this is all fair. It's like
No.
she wants power in an evil way. He wants power in an evil way, and the overarching message is just like, you idiots! Like, just be like, he's a decent person in the beginning of the movie, and he has a way better life on all accounts. And then by the end of the movie, I mean, he gets killed. He gets his head cut off, which is badass.
Right.
His wife kills herself.
Right.
He is super. He ends up murdering his friend, who's his friend in the beginning. There's some weird little kid who's gonna kill him someday if this other guy doesn't kill him. Like, it's just all bad. And it's like this
Banquo's son?
Yeah, great name, by the way. Banquo. I hope that comes back.
Yeah, I'm bringing it back.
There's just all this bad shit, and it all came from, like, this guy just having this, like, ambition that's sort of built on nothing. Like, he was already a powerful guy. He already had a great life. What is this?
Yeah.
Like, why did you do that? I think that's an interesting...
I think it's an interesting, like, the allure of power.
Yeah.
What was, like, ultimate power corrupts ultimately? Is that the quote?
It's like power corrupts, ultimate power corrupts ultimately, or something like that.
Yeah,
Absolute
it's
power.
like the allure of it destroys everyone in the narrative.
Yeah, and that's...
But it's just how it manifests in different ways.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting. So when you first meet the Weird Sisters and they tell her, like, okay, what's up, MacBREATH? Ugh, Listerine. Get a breath mint. Icebreaker. Tic Tac. Something. Whenever, MacBREATH. More like, she's like, and your shoes. Whose are those?
Look at your appearance.
You know, what are these? Whose are those? So he's like, okay, so she gives him the prophecy of that he will one day be the king.
Yeah.
And then she tells his boy, she's like, you'll be great too, but not as good as this guy.
In front of them both.
But she's also like, his son though,
Yeah.
will rise to power.
It's the meddling lady number one in this in this play.
So what does she like represent in the real world? Like, how do we do that? How are you like made privy to the possibility of power in real life? Because I was thinking like the phone is almost like social, like if you wanted to extend it far enough, like social media giving you an insight into like the lifestyles of the rich and the famous that you can never ultimately obtain.
Yeah, or before
like,
phones, just like advertising.
The knowledge that you could, or advertising, the knowledge that you could seize this power, capitalism in general.
Yeah.
The knowledge that you could climb your way up this ladder.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I do. Like,
is this clear enough an association
I'm
to
trying
draw?
to think,
or is this
like, who? I don't know who she is, but it's like it almost is like she's speaking to this inherent thing where it's like, in a hierarchy, especially like an old one like that, everybody's goal is the next step, which is not like, if you're zoomed out, you're not one of those people. You're like, well, the best thing for like the most people, like the people who are being governed, is probably like some stability. Like, you want people to be able to achieve and move up, but you don't want like just people murdering each other for personal gain, which is what she's like inciting. So I don't know if she's like, I don't know who she represents, but she's just kind of like, to me, like that idea of like, you're supposed to move up the next rung and it doesn't matter who you knock off or any of that. Right.
But the knowledge of it, like how the oracle is presented to you, I think is interesting because in the Seventh Seal, Bergman's movie, it's like literally the same. She's modeled after that character pretty clearly, like directly. It's the same, but he's more of like a reaper figure. It's a man in a cloak, and he's having this dialogue with the night. So it's like, it could be death, it could be the human conscious ability to perceive the future.
I wonder,
you know what I mean?
I don't know. People like love like you know how like the Battle of Thermopylae, they go to like the priestess or whatever, and she gives them a prophecy. Like, there's all these stories of like prophecies that are like fortune cookie prophecies, where it's like, depending on how you read them, like different shit. Like, fortune cookie prophecies are stupid because they're so open ended that of course it will come true. Yeah. And these ones are like not as much like that, but that's what a lot of prophecies, like, people seem to like them because they leave you like mystery as to what's going to happen, and then you get that satisfaction of like, oh, I see how it all connects. So I wonder if it's just like a
storytelling,
like a great one.
But that says something about, like, it's like the Odyssey is great storytelling because it kind of also mimics like the rhythm of life itself.
Or maybe this idea of like like predetermination, where it's like, if someone tells you like you're gonna die in a panda attack,
Yeah.
and you like fight. You spend your whole life.
Predetermination is a great. Yeah.
Yeah, you spend your whole life trying to avoid pandas.
Right.
And then like one day a panda finds out and he comes to your house. Like that's the reason. It's like this idea of whatever you do, you can think you're in control of life, but you really aren't. You're like destined to have this happen, which I think is what people probably think and thought for most of.
It might be death now that I think about it.
Yeah,
death
maybe.
itself. It's a lot. It's a lot to chew on.
Yeah.
But yeah, you made a great point. Like even in the Battle of Thermopylae, like the Weird Sisters are of course based on the three fates in Greek mythology. Which are
Migos.
The Migos.
The Migos.
It's Quavo, Offset, and
that would have been better if I could have named the three.
Yeah.
I was just like, I know there's three in there.
and Will I Am. I forgot. No, and so
Fergie and the other two.
So in that in the Greek metaphor, the three sisters are spinning the wheel, the thread, and then the sister will cut the thread whenever somebody's life ends.
Yeah, it's the first like unplugging.
Yeah.
They're like, pull the plug. He's not sick.
So they're like spinning the weave or whatever, the wheel.
Yeah.
It's on a wheel. So Kurosawa's Oracle is doing that.
Kurosawa's Oracle is doing like this hilarious, like, I know he is doing that, but it looks like he's like spinning like a street grill. You know what I mean? Like he's like, I gotta turn the rotisserie. And you're like, the fuck? What are you doing? And he's playing like a flute he made or a whatever that crappy guitar is. Yeah. He's just like, oh, no. I really like that part, but I was trying to think, why is it so spooky when someone just like talks and whispers? And it's like, I think because if you're whispering, inherent in whispering is like, if somebody else hears this, we're fucked. Like there's like a danger. Yeah. Otherwise you wouldn't whisper. You know what I mean? It's like, somebody else hears this, shit's gonna go bad, which is automatically scary.
Yeah, don't tell your parents.
That's why whispering's scary. I've solved why whispering is scary to me. Because something's up. Yeah. I think everybody else probably knew that.
Have you ever met a loud pedophile?
No. No, not. I can say unequivocally I have not. No pedophiles in this movie, which is great.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. The scene in Tragedy...
Which part are you disagreeing with? That it's great or that there aren't?
That there might be some pedophiles.
Okay.
The scene in Tragedy of Macbeth where they find the little boy in the wheat field. Where he finally finds him and he looks over him and he's like looming over him.
Dude, they do such a great job in that whole movie of just like it's like simple shit, but it's just like dead on shots or these like that's just the framing is so intentional and it's like whatever, it might be like manipulative to your brain, but it's awesome.
That's what art is supposed to do. It's supposed to be like, I'm conveying this to you.
Yeah, it's not
I think he nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not like inviting you into the world to explore. They're like, this is what I'm showing you. And that is that's what a play was. It was like, there wasn't just this like ability to just consume art endlessly in the Shakespearean time. You went to the play, like once a fucking year probably?
Do you know there's a Macbeth curse? You're not supposed to say Macbeth in theaters.
Why is that?
Because apparently like people who were theater houses that would like, I don't know if they're called theater houses. Theaters that would perform Macbeth. Yeah, like kept going out of business, and then like I don't know, because theater nerds weren't nerdy enough. They were like, "It's a curse," and now you're not supposed to say it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean this is.
I'm gonna do it every time we do a theater.
I don't think it applies.
Macbeth.
I don't think
we're never coming back here
because already I say Macbeth all the time in my set, and it's been fine.
I would like to go back to that theater in fucking Knoxville and say Macbeth. Those crowds fucking sucked. God damn.
Do you want to spend 30 seconds and just say the theater crowd that you hated the most?
Did that one?
Knoxville?
Yeah. Well, I was so stoked too, dude. I'm a fucking Vols fan. I'm going to see UT Kentucky tonight or UT Vandy, and I was like, man, I did the theater. I shouldn't be just shitting.
It's fine. No, it's fine. You can.
The second crowd was great, but the first crowd was like dog shit, dude.
It's so. I think the reason you get so upset at bad crowds and awesome venues is because you're like, we could have had. Yeah. You fucking fumbled it, dude. We could have had a great...
To be fair, it's like, whatever. There's still seating when I'm on there, and I don't know.
Yeah. The
but who cares? Anyway.
My least favorite, Fort Worth, Texas.
Fort Worth, Texas?
Just want to get that out there.
Yeah.
Honky Tonk.
Honky Tonk?
Honky Tonk. Anyway.
Wait, it was a honky tonk?
It was like 2,000 people, so I'm... But
in a honky tonk?
The world's largest honky tonk.
Oh, dude.
And right before I went up, the headliner I was with went, just so you know, this is my least favorite place in the world to do comedy. And then he just sent me out there. And I was like, God damn, dude. I mean, it was fine, but there was a lot of yelling at me, and none of it was like, we hope you do great. We think you're straight. Like, none of it was that. It was the opposite.
We like the way you look, generally speaking.
We don't think you look weird.
Yeah.
It's not clear you're not from here, and we don't think you suck. It's like, all right, dude. Thank you, Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, Texas. So, yeah, I love that Kurosawa's guy, like, he was like, I'm not doing 3 weird sisters. I'm doing 1 creepy Japanese guy.
1 creepy man.
1 ghostly old Japanese man singing a song about how life is meaningless. That's such a Kurosawa move. That's literally Ikaru. Like, it reminded me of him being singing the song when he's like sitting on the bench and freezing to death.
Yeah, the most beautiful scene in the entire history.
The most beautiful thing, and something about like the audio, and you're right, like the whisper singing, like it just immediately talk about like showing you something and conveying exactly what he's wanting you to feel masterfully. It's like a hypnotic effect it has on you, and he stays in the pocket. This scene is so long,
and it's all like those. So it's like, okay, Ikaru's based on a Tolstoy short story. And then this is based on a Shakespeare short story. And it's like all these great people who are like involved in art, especially like later in life, seem to come to this point of like, I need to say something about the fact that the human condition seems to be none of this fucking matters at all.
Right.
But like then there's some like moral point to that where it's like, because it doesn't matter, I don't know. They all have different interpretations. But it's funny that is such, I wonder, especially like as we get older, is that going to be a thing that just looms in your head where you're like, dude, how can this thing be this cool and broad and like crazy in experience and mean nothing?
Yeah.
And it probably does. You know what I mean? It's like, that's crazy to think about.
Even the Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance had a...
Yeah.
The movie we watched the other day, that had a little bit of the same thing, right? It had some of the same themes. Especially the same theme in Macbeth and Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance is just like this, the cyclical nature of life.
Yeah.
That it's just all kind of like...
Pepsi blue, Pepsi yellow. Pepsi blue, Pepsi
yellow. Oh yeah, I just pulled up my notes.
Yeah.
I wasn't just on my phone. I pulled up my notes for Macbeth, and I put that goddamn flute. I was talking about that thing he was playing.
I'm gonna pull my notes. We'll find the gems that we had in the thing. But it was. How'd you like the end of it? Were you satisfied? Were you sad for the guy? Who'd you empathize
for Macbeth
with?
or Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance?
Macbeth. Were you like, whose team were you on?
You don't end up being on anybody's team by the end of it. Kind of like Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. You're like,
I might have been on some teams.
I don't know. You kind of just go, oh man. By the end of it, because the true end of it is that you realize that the child is going to kill
McDuff or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
No, he's gonna kill the weird kid.
Yeah, the kid who is the original king's son.
Yeah, I call him. Isn't he Weird Kid in Game of Thrones?
He is. No, he is. He's Dudley in Harry Potter.
Oh, this is the second
Dudley
time we've
Dursley.
had this talk. I thought he was Ramsay from that thing.
No, he's Dudley Dursley. And so basically, here's like a short overview. So Macbeth kills the king, and then he
allegedly
becomes the king.
Yeah.
Well, first he becomes the lord of whatever. After that,
yeah, he's like the crone of Thane or some shit.
He becomes the Thane.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, now that I'm the Thane, if I kill the king, I become the king. So then his wife poisons his mind and tells him to eat the apple.
And it's like confusing why she does, because she doesn't. I don't really know what she gets. I guess she gets to be the queen.
Yeah.
But it's like she's already in charge of literally every person she meets.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's also, it's not as simple as, I think even Shakespeare was shedding some light on, like, that Macbeth is like, he wants her to want him to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, he's almost seeking in her, like, the confidence to make this decision that he himself wants to.
Yeah, there's definitely some of that when you think about it. Where it's like that. It's just like a fucked up relationship where they are both like, do it. Do it.
And then I love what's her name? Frances McDormand.
Dormand, yeah, I don't know. If
Frances McDormand, I think is her name. She's fucking phenomenal.
She's really good.
She crushes.
She's in a bunch of stuff where she's great.
Yeah, she was in French Dispatch too and fucking crushed it.
Really?
Crushes, dude. And she just plays this like cold like writer who's like fucking Timothée Chalamet, like a younger kid.
Her face is
awesome.
Her face is like built to convey certain emotions where you're like, I can't even handle how much, like the disappointment and the like.
Oh my god,
the fear and yeah.
It's like the true manifestation of all things matronly, like guilt and disappointment and shame and like psychosis and like dude, whenever she later starts to lose her mind in the courtyard while she's sleepwalking. Yeah. God, that scene is fucking nut.
I like the whole. I like the whole like she goes crazy. He has that scene at dinner in both movies where he like is basically confronted by a ghost and freaks him.
Yeah.
And it's like the idea that, you know, if you do this shit, part of the price will be just like, you're never going to get peace from your own brain from it. So it's like you can do whatever you want, but like you can't. There's really no free rides with any of this shit. Like no matter how devious you want to be.
That's such a great scene when he snaps.
Yeah.
In Tragedy of Macbeth, it's like literally funny when he's like fighting with that crow.
Yeah.
Like, is there anything more futile than like swiping at a bird and a crow? I think that's what happens with the real Macbeth too.
There's definitely some bird like recurring motif. The final scene where it's
crow,
just like a CGI flood of birds, and you're like, oh my
and
God.
the weird sister is like crow like.
Yeah,
dude, her performance is nuts.
The
too.
weird sister.
Yeah,
I don't even. It's so weird. It's so hard to even like. It's so different than everybody else that you're like judging it on like a different scale. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, she is like acting her ass off, dude.
Yeah. But she's
got that toe. She's got like a thumb in her between her toes.
Yeah.
You're like, why am I hard right now?
I'm like, what campsite is this, dude? I don't want to be on this one at all.
And then I love in the Kurosawa version, just I'm not familiar with the actress's name, or the actor, whatever you say now. And she's haunting as fuck too. She's like downright scary. The wife, Lady Macbeth in the Kurosawa version is fucking creepy. There's that Euphoria makeup. God damn.
And there's like this like what I'm sure this is like not the right thing to say, but it's like whenever someone is speaking in a different language,
right?
Especially if they're being like mean or manipulative, I just feel like really they feel scary because there's like a thing where you're like I know I couldn't be like, no, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? It's like they're just this creepy force.
That is something interesting about watching something. The language barrier adds another layer of fear.
Yeah, when she's just like, kill this guy, but I don't know what she's saying.
Yeah, well, what is fear of the dark if not like the lack of knowing or understanding?
I've never been afraid of the dark.
In terms of that makes a lot of sense because you sleep with a nightlight.
That's not a nightlight. That's not a nightlight. That's
not adding up.
It's a recovery.
Follow the money. Release the emails.
It's a recovery light.
Lock her up.
It's not a nightlight. It's a recovery light because if your eye's a muscle and I'm working out a light. It doesn't matter what the light's for, dude.
Anyway, so
it's not a nightlight.
It's a nightlight.
God damn it.
It's a nightlight.
Yeah, there is a weird thing about
it's a Basset Hound nightlight.
I love that dog. Okay, there was a weird thing too where the Kurosawa one, it's like anytime I had that moment where the thing that's awesome about the Shakespeare Macbeth A24 one, you're getting to hear actual Shakespeare, and like the writing is still crazy. Like there's just lines where you're like, God damn.
Yeah,
and the fact that it rhymes,
the dialogue is beautiful.
Nuts.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't get that in the Japanese version. And I had that moment because I've been reading a lot of like Russian stuff too, where it's like you're just gonna miss so many little artistic flourishes and choices that people make if you don't speak the language, and you're limited to one. Like, if you're, I mean, I guess not, but. You're not going to learn that many at the level of fluency that, like, you and I are very fluent in English because we do stand-up. And stand-up's like word choice and word... It's all this shit.
I'm fluent in a few languages, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But it's like you just have these limits on what you're ever going to be able to experience in other languages. And that's kind of like a sad...
It's a
thing
sad
to realize.
Thing. Well, that's what specifically Russians are more aware of. It's like, you don't get to enjoy it. And that's just part of life because life is suffering because we live in the cold.
It's too cold.
And we breed dogs to chase off the wolves.
And we murder everybody.
And that was Tarkovsky's big thing. He's like one of my favorite directors. That's his big...
The dog breeding?
No, not...
He was like, we breed dogs. I'm like, what about your movie?
Yeah, he was a Michael Vick truther. No, he...
Release the dogs.
No, he was like, no, you can't truly like translate foreign art. Like you can't. It can't actually ever be done.
No, you ever read...
And then later in his life, he made like movies in like Swedish, I think, or something. So
yeah, he was like, these are gonna fucking suck, dude.
Yeah.
I'm mailing these in.
Yeah, he's phoning it in.
I wonder though, there's so much, especially like, you know, Macbeth and Shakespeare are so foundational. Like they've been translated in all these languages. It's like, it's kind of lucky we got English because that's one of the main guys.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other main guys I don't even know about, but he's a big guy. Billy S.
Dude, I love the scene in Kurosawa when Macbeth is freaking out. He's just like fighting with the shadow. He's just like literally like fighting a man who's not there, and then the guy's watching him like, ooh. It reminded me of the stuff that you say about Stalin.
I don't say anything about Stalin, and I certainly don't endorse him. No,
Or, like, the people around him are just like they have to like sit and watch him do this and just not say anything.
And they get like deranged by power. Like the end of Stalin's life, Stalin has a stroke in his little like summer home. Beautiful. And he, so he's got also. Meanwhile, like in the same time period, he's been in like basically doing a program trying to like exterminate Jewish people of all the jobs. And there's a lot of Jewish doctors in Russia, so he's been like prosecuting all these doctors. It's like they're like sham trials. He's just sending them to camps.
Right.
And so he has a stroke, and he might survive. He might do okay if they get medical care. But all his psycho advisors and people under him, A, they kind of want him to die because he might kill them, and B, they're like, we're not calling doctors in here because if he survives, he'll be like, you brought the doctors in here. They're trying to kill me. This is part of a plot. I'm killing everybody.
Right.
So he literally like sits in piss for like 20 hours, and he's just got this one like country nurse who like doesn't realize that he's like a mass murderer, and she's like, he was always a sweet boy. Like he's a murderer, and he just dies. And like they eventually call the doctors, but like the doctors are being like watched by like 3 guards who are being watched by like 3 guards, and it's like, this is how distorted and crazy your life gets when you're this evil. When like everybody who helps you use it as like, ooh, I can use that to circle back.
That's what Macbeth does with Banquo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he eventually kills him and then tries to hunt down his son.
Yeah, it leads to nothing. Nobody ever, I don't think, like, I don't know. I mean, when you read the biography of Stalin, it's like, I don't think that worked out. I know he had ultimate power and did all sorts of crazy shit, but it's like, I think those are miserable.
The quest for power just is this cycle of...
It's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's started off this little mini series being like vengeance rules, and you're starting the more movies you watch about it, you're like, oh yeah, God, well, it's so dark.
Usually like we start with the stupidest take we have,
yeah, and
then we like work back and are like, damn, people might have some points. Like, but I mean, I still think in a weird way the vengeance guy's still right in this one. Like,
right.
Macbeth getting killed is vengeance,
right,
which is. And also, they cut his head off, and it's
cut his head off. Not in the Kurosawa one.
No, and you'd think. I mean, if you made me bet which movie has a head cut off, I would have gone the Japanese movie.
I would have gone, 100%. But it's not.
I know,
dude. The camera work is like insane in the Kurosawa one for the time.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, you remember that first scene where they're riding through the woods, and then it's like it zooms in on him and like follows him like through the woods. Like, how did they do this back then?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It speeds up. There's a shot that like speeds up.
Yeah.
And you're like, what was that? How'd you do that?
Well, I know how you do it now on Adobe Premiere. You just clip it and go zzz. But I mean, back then it's like, how did you...
I no idea.
No idea. You'd have to like lick the film and like what I mean? Like all the camera tricks you had to do back then. But the scene where Macbeth dies, or his name's not Macbeth in this. His name is Washizu.
Yeah. And which is Japanese for Macbeth.
Yeah. And
it translates one
directly.
It's perfect.
It's a 1-to-1.
Yeah. What you do in Japanese, I know a little bit about it. Anytime you have a W, flip it upside down. It's a simple language, really.
It's like the Wombo.
It's a lot like the Wombo.
The Wombo thing in SpongeBob.
That's actually, they go, day 1 Japanese class. Who here knows about the Wombo?
Yeah, it's Wombology, SpongeBob. It's first grade. In Tragedy of Macbeth, Macduff just cuts Denzel's head off clean.
Yeah, and the shot and the crown goes flying, and you're like, oh yeah, showed you. But in Kurosawa's one, it's like this drawn out scene where he's getting shot by arrows. Oh, dude,
you remember that?
It's awesome.
It's the best scene in the movie.
It's less glorious, which I think is a weird like sort of revenge thing where it's like you don't get to just get your head chopped off in like single combat. You gotta like try to flee down like
it's like in The Sopranos when he's like, it won't be cinematic.
Yeah, dude, he's on like the Donkey Kong level, where like Mario's trying to jump all the barrels. He's trying to like get down that, and they're shooting arrows, and he's like, it
does feel like losing in a Mario Party minigame where you're just slowly getting fucked,
and it just starts cascading.
You become overcome by like 3 or 4 people. Yeah,
it's awesome. And he just gets shot to death. And also, I love like that the woods has since the first guy saw woods been a metaphor for like. Scary place to find your way through that is confusing and a metaphor for life. It's like, I just want to be okay. And I like that. Like what's the prophecy? They're like, you're gonna be fine until the woods come to fuck you. And the guy's like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then people are like, put a branch on your helmet, and like, it's like
Oh yeah, they use like the trees. That scene in the tragedy in both movies is awesome, but in the Tragedy of Macbeth when they have like the trees,
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
it's awesome. I will say, just from like a stickler point, it always made me laugh, the idea that like people would put trees on them and then march up, and you wouldn't go, it's guys with trees. You'd be like, nah, it's shit, man. It's the whole forest. It's like that's clearly not the forest.
Dude, it's a climate change metaphor. Green
Kurosawa
Party
was on it.
Yeah. I like also in Kurosawa's movie, like at the beginning when him and the Banquo character, his name's Miki in the Kurosawa one.
And now when you take the M and you turn it,
You turn it up
the other way.
It's the same thing, yeah.
It's perfect.
You just rotate it.
You find me an example that doesn't work. Send it in if you got one.
It's a flawless logic.
It's not logic. It's the rules of the language.
Japanese actually is like a very logical language.
I know, clearly.
Yeah. But anyway,
it's based on rotations, dude.
Yeah. So they at the beginning scene after they get the prophecy, like it shows them hanging out and being boys, you know?
Yeah.
They're like cracking a cold one open, like after they defeated they've come back from war. Like it really shows how hard it turns when you're like boys with somebody, and then how power will like make you destroy them. Also, you don't see him in the Kurosawa one. You don't see Macbeth or Washizu killing anybody.
No, and he's like a better guy.
It's an interesting choice, yeah.
Like Washizu the whole time is a character where you're like, he like seems to be more agitated by the idea of doing it. His wife has to like really push him.
Yeah, he's a more empathetic character for sure.
Yeah, he's like guiltier the whole time.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Like Denzel makes this like heel turn, which is awesome to watch. But you're like,
he really becomes a villain.
Yeah, you want him to die by the end.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, you're evil. You're pure evil,
dude. And when they come to when they come for Macduff's wife and kid.
Oh, dude.
And that performance too, when the other guy tells Macduff that Macbeth killed his kids, is intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I never think kids are good in movies, but watching a little kid do Shakespeare and not fuck it up, I was like, that kid's pretty good.
It's impressive as fuck.
Oh, dude, that scene where they like throw him into like like essentially just like a pit of smoke and fire. You're like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's so funny because the other guy comes and he's like, you guys doing all right? And then he sees the people riding in out of the window. He's like, all right, I think I gotta take off now. Well,
you know what? I drive for Uber, so I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, and they're like, are we okay? Are we straight? He's like, yeah, no, you're good.
Dude,
you're good.
It is so crazy to think that's how it used to happen.
Yeah.
You'd be in a castle and you'd be like, we're probably fine. And then like you'd look outside and you'd be like, we're all gonna die. Like it's just like in that quickly. Yeah. You're just like, well, that's the end of our whole life. Shit. Guess we played this wrong. I was thinking about that in both movies we watched. Like that, again, like we were talking about, like, you know, like honor doesn't really get any. People think it's like a stupid value,
right?
But again, man, back then when like there's no way to communicate, so much of how you would have to navigate the world is based on like trust.
Right.
You need people to have principles. Like the only thing. That's why it would be such a big deal, and I think that's probably why like everyone was so like oriented around their family, because it's like you need people who are like, I have these certain principles I will not break. Because otherwise you would just be like, everything's so uncertain and everyone can just shift teams, and like, you know, if you're not near someone, they could get killed and then it fucks up the whole thing. It's a whole, like, you need a code back then. And I think it's, I don't know, it's probably bad that we now people seem to be like, it goes convenience and then my principles. And you're like, no, don't do that.
The second thing almost isn't even existent.
I know. There is a weird thing, too, where people are like, my principles are whatever they're supposed to be right now. And you're like, I don't feel like you know what this word means.
I had a whole crazy spiral last night where I was just on my phone too much, and I was like looking at all these like people who are like older than me trying to be content creators, and I was like, oh my god, is this gonna be me in a couple of years? Like, this is so fucking sad and disturbing. And
it could be.
I also have no principle. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I you know, that's one of those ones where it's like, it's also hard to
looked inside a little too much. Put that back in.
Yeah, I think it's just like, it's hard to know if you have principles when you're not like ever tested. Like, what they're like, don't bump people at a mic. Like, I don't know what the fuck are the principles.
Yeah. That's a great point. When you're not tested, there's no. Yeah,
it doesn't really matter. But I do think, like, I mean, I'm certainly trying to. There are certain things where I'm like, I definitely want to hold the line on that.
Kind of feels like there's a great big test coming up for everybody, though, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The election. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
it doesn't
we're
matter.
The weird sisters. And something. Yeah.
Yeah, there probably is a test. I don't know what it's going to be though.
Housing market crash.
We'll be all right in that one. You and I will be okay.
Yeah.
It happened? Damn. Should I change like the little screen in my rented duplex? What's going on? What do I change the air filter? Okay, I'll do it. I'm on it.
Oh man. So favorite parts or performances in
favorite part, dude. I just like seeing Denzel recite Macbeth was just cool as fuck. It's like I don't care what I don't care what happened to make this happen.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
It was sick, yeah.
Yeah.
He nailed it too. He really nailed it, yeah.
And just seeing like a thing that was like thoughtful as far as like the cinematography and the way it's shot. You're basically just watching like something pretty for 2 hours, which is always a cool thing. So yeah, my favorite thing was just like the idea and the fact that Joel Coen's like, dude, he made The Big Lebowski and Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and now he's making this weird shit. Like that's awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's funny that that's where you come at the end. It's just like strip everything down. We're just doing a play. We're doing
I love that. The shortest Shakespeare play about the simplest idea.
In a world where there is so much oversaturation of media and world building and universes, he's like, we're taking all that out and we're just here. So I love The Lighthouse too.
Yeah.
Such a great movie to watch.
Male friendship.
That's
what that's about, right? Did I miss it? Is that what that is? I'm like, damn, these guys are boys. They moved to an island
all I got.
together?
I was like, man, I've been on the road with a bunch of people like Willem Dafoe in that movie.
Yeah, I've been on the road with Willem Dafoe recently. Him and I are doing the Green Goblin live. Yeah. Come on out to it. You'll love it.
The Green Goblin.
We'll slime you.
I'm on to catch me at the Looney Bin Little Rock with the Green Goblin.
Yeah, catch me at I'll be underground with the Green Goblin. It's a hot show.
Yeah, and it's not actually the Green Goblin. It's just it's a urban comedian with a 3-6 Mafia shirt with the green skulls on it. He calls himself the Green Goblin.
But he is very good.
He crushes pussy.
Big fan of him. Yeah.
I loved the scene where the guy from Office Space is running down the hall. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Which dude?
You may use the bathroom during this part or something. The guy who plays Bill Dauterive, voice actor. And the guy from Office Space, you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot of scenes of people running down halls.
When he is like summoned from his basement because Macduff is riding to the castle and he's going to greet Macduff.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, it's this dude?
That guy?
Yeah, and he's in a lot of Coen Brothers movies.
There's a lot of actors where you're like, oh, that guy from that movie I liked.
Yeah.
The casting's awesome.
I loved that. For whatever reason, when he's running down the hall and like reciting Shakespeare and he like trips and falls.
Yeah.
I was just like, that guy was in this movie for like 2.5 minutes and he came in and shook ass and left. Like he crushed that that acting.
And then
part.
He went home and was like, what was that?
Yeah.
I hope it's good.
I also like whenever he goes in, so when he kills the king, he kills all of the king's guards and makes it look like they killed him. And there's a scene where he comes in and then like they do a close up on the king. And I just thought that was like a beautiful thing.
Yeah, his kid's got to flee after. I love that. That's like now, if your parents die, we're like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
Back then, it was like you need to flee because they also might kill you.
Yeah, you gotta get the fuck out of here.
It was just such a hardcore.
It's so hardcore. Oh, dude, I love also the beginning when like the guy is the very first scene when the dad from The Witch is. I
didn't see The Witch.
You didn't see The Witch?
No.
Oh, you gotta see The Witch.
Yeah,
it's awesome. The dad from The Witch comes in and he's like talking to the king and telling him of the treachery and then
the treachery.
Yeah, I just love that guy's voice.
Dude, everybody's like just hearing these people do Shakespeare is cool. And you realize like whatever, maybe it's just like the English major thing. I took like 2 classes on Shakespeare. Shakespeare is awesome. Shakespeare's like he's a really good. When people are like it's boring, it's like no, you just don't know these words and so it bothers you. Like look them up. You'll be fine.
I read there's 2 set in Venice. The one with the Moor. The guy's name.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I read that one when I was in Italy. It was awesome.
Dude, we had a class. I remember in college. There's a scene where this guy's talking about busting a nut. It's like a 6-line little sonnet about coming, and it's very obvious.
The little death.
He's like, and then like a flower, it explodes, and then it like whatever. I just remember it was so clearly about that.
Yeah.
And we had this weird professor who was cool, and he was like, okay, what's this about? And everybody was like, and it's like, it's about, so I remember just being like, coming? And he was like, exactly, come. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? And then later I went on like, I can't even remember what it was. It was like some like missed connections thing in college.
Yeah.
And there was some girl who was like, I liked you because you talked about coming and Professor so-and-so. And I was like, oh my God, dude, that's the best meet cute story of all time. He brought up coming in Shakespeare class and I knew. I want that guy to come on my shoes or whatever. I don't know what she wanted.
Come on my clown shoes.
We never met, but I just remember being like, damn, that's a weird way to meet girls. Coming? They're like, you're not in a class right now. I'm like, oh, sorry, it worked 10 years ago.
I will say there was some A24 stuff. I remember the movie where like the king is wearing that like cape with the stars on it. You remember that was like a very Hereditary thing. Yeah. Or it's like a little dollhouse.
That's like what the movie reviewer is also wearing. There's a guy reviewing the movie also wearing that. He's like, these are Nike, whatever Drake's Nike brand. You're like, shut up. I don't want to.
Yeah, it's an OVO cape.
These are Nocta or whatever the fuck. You're like, all right.
So long story short, Macbeth is Kanye. Macduff is Drake.
And I'm a straight guy.
And you're a straight guy. And everybody believes that.
Everybody believes it. And it's not a nightlight. No, it was sweet. And we'll figure out what vengeance movie we're going to do next.
Yeah.
Probably Marley and Me.
Marley and Me or Dog, the Channing Tatum movie.
A hot Marine and an ugly dog.
Maybe we should do like a book or something. Switch it up. We've been doing a lot of movies.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out, and you'll find out. And thanks for doing it. And we got sketches coming up. We'll have those up on the Patreon.
Yeah.
And we'll have all sorts of shit.
If you want to take vengeance on your parents or your ex-boyfriend or other podcasters, you could contribute to our Patreon at patreon.com/Animal Secrets.
Yeah.
Or you can subscribe to our YouTube, follow the Animal Secrets Instagram, Animal Secrets Pod on Instagram. You can follow us at Chance Willie, at Connor Larson Comedy on Instagram. Check out ConnorLarsonComedy.com for his dates, ChanceWillie.com for my dates. And then you got anything else you want to plug?
I think you nailed it, man. We'll be in Nashville a lot of Mondays and Tuesdays at Zany's.
Yeah, just bank on us being at every like New Material Monday at Zany's Nashville.
And then we'll both be in other weird states doing comedy. So go to our websites for that.
Yeah, go to our websites. I'll be on tour with Theo Vaughn here coming up soon. He's on tour with Rodney Carrington every fucking weekend
For the rest of
time. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff coming up. Thanks for sticking around with us. If you're already a Patreon member, we really appreciate it. And we're excited to be in the new studio and making a lot of shit coming your way. And we'll have some fun bonus stuff coming out.
We're going to raffle off a sword. All right. Thank you, everybody. We're going to give a sword to somebody. Thank you, guys.